Ragnarok. Death of the Third World. Mageddon. Last invention of Pericus the Forger. Triggers the Big Crunch. The Omniverse implodes in fiery twilight. The old gods die screaming. In the end, there is only the small, cool black. Sapient, the black is serene, at one, and centered. However, it is not alone. Faint echoes call from the dark. And now a white event ignites. A fourth world. White light stabs forth, causing the frightened black to recede. Creation is now divided into Light Force and Dark Force dimensions. Fertile with imagination, overwhelmed by feeling, the white light is an infinite frontier, wherefrom realities bubble forth. Each reality in the Omniverse is comprised of dimensional layers and mechanisms to ensure both stability and dynamism. To illustrate, we will explore the reality catalogued as the 616. We venture into the 7th dimension, otherwise known as the Source Wall. It is a dam allowing nourishing white light to flow safely through its dimensional layers. No being within the 616 can touch the Source Wall without being absorbed into it. The exception is the enigmatic man on the wall, who protects the 616 from existential trespass. Outside the wall is the endless life itself, source of the life equation. It sleeps as would a newborn babe, cradled in the Light Force dimension. It is life itself that sent forth ex nihilo to seed mortal life across all realities in the Omniverse. Also in the Light Force dimension are the Beyonders, who evolved here. Descending into the 6th dimension, we explore the Monitor Sphere. It is an observatory from where monitors chart the lower dimensions. They serve the Endless One above all. Judging events in the lower dimensions is the living tribunal who presides on planet Nil. Due to its ocular nature, the 6th dimension is sometimes called the Mirror Dimension. Descending further into the 5th dimension, we behold the God Sphere. It is where the limbo areas and God realms are. The sphere is divided into arcs governed by the Endless Lord Chaos and Master Order. They task Equinox with settling their arguments, and he is not the only mortal tasked with settling their arguments. Limbo areas are splinter realms, with inconsistent, ever-changing physics. Among the limbos are Zerif, home to trickster imps, Other Space, home to immigrant demons, Hammerspace, Papa Pier, and Dimension X are described as having cartoon physics. The remaining limbos are as of yet unexplored. Certain mortal minds are aware of these limbos. They describe such awareness as feeling like characters in a story. Elsewhere in the 5th dimension are the God realms, 4 of order, 4 of chaos. Let us now sleep through the dream of Elfheim, a world of pure imagination. It is home to light elves and fair folk, Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny, where ideas are alive, and imaginary friends speak to you. Sleepwalkers patrol for trespassing boogeymen, and from his capital city of Imaginaria, the endless dream dances through our nightly hopes and sings to us daydreaming wishes. Now we ascend to the heaven of Vanaheim. Only the voice of the present can guide you through the mists. Long ago, The angelic armies of the bull, eagle, lion, and man expelled the Vanir people from the Silver City. Since then, anyone who abuses the gifts bestowed by the presence will face his wrath. And now we step foot on New Genesis. Unlike other gods, these deities did not evolve in the god sphere. Rather, they were created from the living atoms of the old gods. Their world was molded from a piece of Ogren, home of the old gods. New Geneseans are the gods of machinery. From orbiting Supertown, they look down on the ruins of Ogren, the kingdom of Jotunheim, and the Bugmound. We now climb onward to Skyland. Eventually, you ascend toward Asgard, Olympus, the 7 capital cities, and the divine bureaucracies. You will witness Kami, Devas, Loa, and Elohim battle demons, dragons, Oni, and trolls. This is where heroes are made. Careful, we are crossing over into the Chaos Arc. The nightmare of Svartalfheim is lit by black light torches under a shadow-casting sun. Ruled by Nightmare and his army of boogeymen, it is where dreams are broken and delusions are shattered. But Garrett Sanford, the rebel Sandman, fights for the dreamers in all of us. Dark elves see in the dark and whisper bad ideas as they gather magical wood and avoid poisonous iron. Goblins haggle in markets as the Headless Horseman ensures that heads will roll. Run, you fool! And now we go to Hell. The 9 levels of Hell are where you find Muspelheim, Sheol, Azarath, Jigoku, as well as cold spots called Kuzimu, and the dust field of Kur. Here plot the worst degenerates of Reality 616, Lucifer, Mephisto, Surtur, Malebolgia, Trigon, and Neron collect souls for their armies. Rhyming demons and jinn evolved here, ever pawns in constant war. But even Predator is prey when stalked by a heavenly assassin, the Aesir warrior called Angela. It is a long, hard road out of hell. Niflheim is a cold void of barren planets and asteroid worlds. The only heat emanates from the dehumanizing factory world of Apocalypse. This world is also molded from a piece of Urgrund. Its people are also fashioned from the living atoms of the old gods. Its tyrant, Darkseid, seeks the anti-life equation to subjugate all free will. Elsewhere, the exiled Hela resides on the asteroid world of Helheim. Will they join forces? Time will tell. We descend now into the underworld of Nidavellir. It is an insular realm, home to dwarves, Hades, Osiris, Anwin, and Ereshkigal. Its mines overflow with the 10 metals of creation. It's depressing down here. Let's go somewhere well lit, shall we? No, dear mortal. You have not dropped bad acid. We are merely elsewhere. Otherwise known as the Crunch. It is neither a dimension nor a limbo. It is where God and mortal spheres collide, like crusts of tectonic plates. Pulverized reality, like lava, spews forth collapsing and warping sanity. Few have ever explored it. Only a chameleon explorer returned sane, and only a native named Rock Shade ever visited from there. On the outer side of this reduction zone is the area of madness, a funhouse mirror for logic. On the inner side is the Zero Zone, an arc of opposites and inversions. On the planet Meta evolved techno-sorcerers like Rock Shade. Reality on Meta resembles art by M.C. Escher or Victor Vasarely. Only M-Vests allow anyone to travel to and from Meta. Now we crash into the Speed Force Wall. It is pure time governed by the endless eternity. It is also where the endless phoenix soars on the winds of time to burn unstable universes. Using vibrational frequencies that echo through time, one can ricochet through the multiverse using the Speed Force Wall. The Speed Force appears golden if traveling forward in time, and scarlet if traveling backward. The wall is an endless racetrack for the runner, an elder of the universe. The former Barry Allen now outruns his future corpse, the Black Flash. Two worlds orbit the Speed Force, able to observe all time in panorama fashion. The first is Quiz, a world of pure energy, attuned to all known vibrational frequencies. Its chief resident is the Lightspeed hero, Crackle, who enjoys racing both the Phoenix and Eternity. The second is Gemworld. It is where Homo Magi evolved. Ruled by the 12 houses, Gemworld is the source of all magic wielded by mortals. The source of this magic is in the Lifestone Tree. The Power Rings, the Power Prism, the Macron Crystal, the Crimson Gem of Sitarak, the Black Diamond, the Bloodstone, and even the Infinity Gems have been plucked from this tree. Princess Amethyst protects the Lifestone Tree from the evil of Eclipso, the wicked inheritor of Houses Onyx and Diamond. Orbiting Gemworld are the 7 magical lands. These pocket dimensions were built by the Sleepwalkers of Alfheim to hide the imagination of young Jed Walker from the boogeymen. When a mortal is asked where they get their ideas, they get them from the 7 magical lands. The 7 magical lands are the Funlands of non-stop childhood play, the Gamelands of competitive growth, the Wildlands of friendly cartoon adventures, the Wozender Lands of fairy tale nonsense and absurdities, the Darklands of childhood fears, where your imagination runs away with you, the Monsterlands, where ugly beasts are always beautiful on the inside, and finally, the Weirdlands, adrenaline-fueled, angst-ridden escapism. Originally, the mortal sphere was a single universe. But when a Malthusian scientist, Krona, punctured a hole in space-time so he could touch the Big Bang, the sphere was shattered into a multiverse. Others, such as Size Nick, the Molecule Man, and Dr. Manhattan, have likewise shattered the mortal sphere. Together, the multiverse and the God Sphere comprise the 9 realms of Yggdrasil. The multiverse is governed by the endless infinity. It is comprised of 52 finite universes. Each universe is observed by a watcher. In the center is the Rock of Eternity. Through this linchpin, one can access any place or time in the 616. It is the nexus of all realities. This nexus is accessible either through nexus points, or by so-called nexus beings, such as the Scarlet Witch. The Rock of Eternity is the nest of the Endless Phoenix. Here, the Council of Magic, a jury of divine mortals, once judged magical offenders. Within each universe is a metaverse known as Hypertime. You might refer to it as luck, chance, or alternate and parallel realities. It is the never-ending answer to the question, what if? A simple answer would be déjà vu, or the Mandela effect. Just as the Phoenix soars over the Speed Force wall, so does Elias scour Hypertime, seeking to consume branch timelines. Branch timelines can be universes in their own right. This also means the future is ever-changing. If a universe's timeline branches in many directions, it destabilizes, and the Phoenix burns it. To police never-ending outcomes, one needs a never-ending bureaucracy. On Earth Zero, the Time Variance Authority prunes branch timelines. Speedsters are arrested by hot pursuit, while time travelers have their lineages exterminated by justice pacts. However, certain offenders evade either justice. Artificial universes also exist throughout the multiverse. The Microverse was created by Micronus Prime. However, its design flaw, that of contracting time, threatens its existence. Currently, the heroic Micronauts and the Time Travelers are seeking to save their universe. Let us hope they do. Meanwhile, the Black recedes to the underside of the 616. This area is called the Dark Force Dimension. It includes both the Still Force Wall and the Dark Multiverse. Once the Phoenix has burned away an unstable universe, its charred remains sink into the Dark Force Dimension. It is then the endless Barbatos, the Nightwing, deposits the remains in the Dark Multiverse. And what remains is often a damaged reality, eulogized by the endless finality. The Rock of Finality is the flip side of the Rock of Eternity, and its most intriguing resident is the one below all. Is he endless, or is he a prisoner? The Dark Multiverse is a grand guignol of horror shows, such as the ectoplasmic Phantom Zone, the unlucky Mojoverse, the backwards Bizarro World, and the ever-feeding Cancerverse. Other worlds include the salvaged Counter-Earth, claimed by the High Evolutionary, and Subware, ruled by the Faultine Zealot Dormammu. Yet there are scarier entities who stalk the never-ending night. The many angled ones inhabit the spaces between universes. The Batman who laughs dreams a nihilistic nightmare that makes sense to him alone. The King in Black breeds his symbiotes on Clintar, one of two worlds that sit on the Still Force Wall. The other world is Hattore, home of Starro. But the scariest one of all is the Dweller in Darkness. It is he who whispers those faint echoes to the Black. However, life itself has seen to it that the Black has at least one true friend, the Night Mask. Many mortals channel the sentient ether of the Dark Force Dimension, mostly through its pocket dimensions. The Dark Multiverse conjures endless speculation as to what these universes were like before winding up here. Indeed, if the multiverse is the cradle of success, then the Dark Multiverse is a graveyard of failures. But who builds new universes? Who curates the failed ones? He is Vok, the World Forger, an artist never satisfied. He resides in the shared space of the Rocks of Eternity and Finality. His helpers are his muse, Barbatos the Nightwing, and his critic, Phoenix the Flamebird. While the Nightwing whispers ideas from the shadows, the Phoenix burns the flawed creations. Meanwhile, what transpires in the Light Force dimension outside the 616? Sometimes, realities attract and cluster around each other. Realities orbit other realities. The antimatter universe of Quad orbits the 616, known to mortals as the negative zone. If it should touch the positive matter 616, they both would cease to exist. Quad is inhabited by various factions, all under the surveillance of Mobius, the Anti-Monitor. We now return to the stalemate between black and white. The black shatters the white where the two overlap in a sort of gray area. White light then separates into a spectrum. With separated emotions, the spectrum touches the first beings to ever feel. The Butcher turns red with rage. The Ophidian consumes and hoards. Parallax spreads his fear like a virus. Ion is determined to push against the odds. Adara aspires to fly higher and higher. The Proselyte reaches out with mercy, charity, caring, and compassion. And the Predator obsessively pursues an undying love. The emotional spectrum is not limited to visible light. There is an invisible spectrum as well. Vormir is a world inhabited by sadness, futility, and embarrassment, while Umbrax is lit by shame, envy, and guilt. Many a mortal can attract at least one light in the spectrum. So many, in fact, that armies are dedicated to wielding a light, often utilizing a ring to do so. Rare mortals can wield all 7 simultaneously, either through mutant or mystical powers, or artifacts and technology. And then there are the curious cases of spectrum manipulators who, although not wielding a light, can otherwise interact with the spectrum. Even rarer are those mortals who wield the white light, either drawn directly from the Light Force dimension, or gifted by higher dimensional beings. When mortals expire, it is the black they first see. Where black and death intersect is a toxic embrace. Absorbing light, the black learned to reverse engineer its power and channel it via black rings, through death herself. The ring wears a corpse. The corpse absorbs spectrum light from living beings in order to charge its ring. Lest you assume the spectrum is the sole force regulating creation, there are more. The next such force is the macrocule, known as the power cosmic. It is comprised of 7 macro-level forces. While the Higgs-Boson ignited the white event, the power cosmic is what binds creation together. It surrounds us. It penetrates us. It is beyond any mere unified field. Gods and mortals can channel individual aspects of the power cosmic. A rare mortal becomes a divine mortal once an aspect replaces its soul. The power cosmic is both a primary power source and wiring of several artifacts. Throughout the 616, much speculation exists as to whether the infamous Infinity Gems utilize the same macro forces as the power cosmic. Although 5 of the gems correspond to macro forces, the Soul Gem corresponds to neither Still Force nor Omega Force. Which begs the question, where do souls depart once replaced by the power cosmic? There exists an alternative theory of the Infinity Gems. It is theorized the gems might house aspects of the mythical Nemesis, goddess of the first world. The mythical Nemesis was a tyrannical goddess whose own knights ripped her apart, thereby ending the first world. Her pieces were subsequently housed in certain artifacts during the second and third worlds. In the fourth, the Infinity Gems were plucked from the Lifestone tree of Gemworld to be her current housing. Although the Knights of Nemesis, now known as Celestials, plucked the Infinity Gems, they are not the possessors of them. The possessors are a colorful fraternity known as the Elders of the Universe. Existing on Earth Zero, the Elders are each the last of his kind. Although we know the runner to be Barry Allen from a post-human future, the other Elders' identities are a mystery. Even more mysterious are how and why they possess the Infinity Gems. It is rumored the Elders stole the gems from the Celestials. How? Perhaps it has something to do with the fact that deities are unable to wield the gems. The gems are so often associated with the Elders that possessing a gem is seen as conferring Elder status onto an Endling. Even immortals can end, and so the Elders debate as to an heir. Who better than an Endling who never desired power in the first place? While Nobo covets the gems to merely show off, Thanos, on the other hand, desires them for a far more unconscionable reason. Having once cheated death of his secrets, Thanos foresaw a future wherein he and a reincarnated nemesis would sire a daughter, Perpetua. Yet, many Endlings just covet the gems for the mere prestige of Elder status. Why? The Elders are immortal, likely due to their souls having been replaced by the Power Primordial. The Power Primordial is the third world's counterpart to the fourth's Power Cosmic. If so, how did the Elders come to possess this miraculous macrocule? Before we move on, a third macrocule exists in the center of the Earth-Zero universe. Known as the Heart of the Universe, its combination of new macro forces has yet to be fully realized. Spectrum lights and macrocules are merely components in the larger equation. This equation has two halves. The life equation is the will to live, where the Sage Force intersects with life itself. The anti-life equation is lacking that will, where the Sage Force intersects with death herself. However, all forces are petty against the utility of the Star Brand. Designed by life itself and seated by Ex Nihilo in every reality throughout the Omniverse, the Star Brand adapts to each reality. It is the last resort in preserving the will to live. We now return to the Celestials, already in progress. The Celestials are often a misunderstood race. Their armors were mined from the first firmament, which was the first reality to exist in the first world. It was a living reality, with whom the Celestials formed a friendship. However, Nemesis did forbid her knights to have no friend but her. She dispatched her loyal aspirants to assassinate the Celestials' one true friend. Since the Second World, the Celestials have replenished their ranks by impregnating life-giving planets. However, every life form has an antithesis. Galactus, formerly Galen of Tar, survivor of the Third World, consumes celestial eggs in order to replenish his power cosmic. No matter who wins, a planet loses. When a planet is impregnated, the Celestials design two new species from that planet's most intelligent native population. The first are Eternals, immortals who are each designed with a unique function. Their purpose is to keep secret and save a celestial egg. On Earth, the Eternals were manufactured from a clan of proto-humans who lived in ancient Africa, while all other Eternals are strictly programmed to safeguard a celestial egg and to remain within a native solar system. Thanos is not. Possessing the manufacturing defect of deviant DNA, Thanos travels the 616 as its most infamous mass murderer. The second species is the Deviants, a diverse society of constantly mutating DNA. When a new celestial emerges from a planet, it feasts on nutritionally diverse deviants. Celestials grow a center, a sapient birthland that spawns new deviants. Unwilling to abort excessive deviations, the center allows monsters to roam its landscape. This action has earned it the moniker of Monster Island. As a redundancy, the center spawned a second birthland, Okara. But this redundancy was later split in twain, into Krakoa and Arako. Both islands have figured into the rise of the most controversial life forms on Earth Zero. Mutants. No one can agree on what mutates Homo sapiens. Is it celestial meddling? Is it a high amount of creation metal? Is it deviant DNA? No one knows, for now. But mutants are a troubling faction in the 616. Mutants became public knowledge with activist musician Johnny Doom. Mutants have caused existential anxiety for humanity, as well as higher dimensional beings. Many can hack into both fundamental and macro forces. Certain mutants can access either one or multiple cosmographical regions. Mutants biologically aspire toward infinite variety in infinite combinations. They are biologically compatible with Atlanteans, certain alien species, and Inhumans. However, mutant deviant hybrids either self-abort or are stillborn. Mutants cannot conceive offspring with Kryptonians or Daxamites at all. Mutants can be composited, exist among aliens, or descend from enhanced humans. Certain autistic mutants can hack into omniversal reality, such as Tommy Westfall. It is feared that mutants will one day evolve into godhood. Some believe the externals, immortal mutants, are the first step in this evolution. They each possess a secondary mutation, allowing them to hack into the life equation. This hacking grants them immortality. The life equation is also responsible for the emergence of spiritual realms. These spiritual realms are the green and the red. The green is the sapient realm of flora. The red is the sapient realm of fauna. A little bit of life is absorbed by the black upon a mortal's demise. Routinely, the spiritual realms anoint an avatar. These realms can also be channeled or hacked by other mortals. The black anoints an avatar on each universe, in both the multiverse and the dark multiverse. The terms green and red take on different forms and meanings elsewhere in the multiverse. Regulation of magic in the mortal sphere is the self-appointed task of the Vishanti, a triad of higher dimensional beings. The Vishanti appoint a mortal sorcerer supreme every generation. The idea is to appoint one who has sorcery down to a science. On the other side of the coin, scientific survival is assured by Jenny Beyonder. A renegade Beyonder, Jenny seeks those who aspire to take science to the very edge of magic. A scientist supreme is chosen as needed to advance mortal knowledge. And now we come to another troubling faction, divine mortals. These beings have their souls replaced with either divine power or macro-level forces. They range from agents to self-appointed authorities. Some just run amok. Despite being on par with higher dimensional beings, their bodies remain mortal, despite enhancements to the contrary. But what becomes of one whose soul has been replaced by power? There are intruders in the Omniverse, beings that refuse to die. These beings are the work of the Demiurge. Once, during the Third World, it had been life itself. Of course, it refused to die. Now, it wanders the Omniverse, resurrecting and reincarnating the old gods. Names like Gog, Kaya, and Kithon are uttered again on Earth Zero. Meanwhile, Unicron and Primus continue their war on Earth 16. Some of these elder gods seek to continue their respective lineages. Kithon begets the Vampire Nation, while Primus births the Cybertronians from his own, now planetary, body. So far, we have spoken of various power players in the 616, save one. She is arguably the most versatile and resourceful of the endless. Death herself. To mortals, she is Lady Death, a morbid Madonna. To all waning deities, she is the Black Racer. In the Dark Force dimension, she is Necron, the Grim Reaper of dying worlds. And when an incursion occurs, she is the Black Swan, cooing her death song. But perhaps her favorite form is that of a teenage girl, an optimistic youth who holds your hand in your final hours, a reminder that death is a twin to life. You've heard the term incursion. Incursion is when universes vibrate in sync, causing a collision between those universes. This is likely due to hypertime threading. Such a cataclysm can overpower the Phoenix and any other regulatory force in the 616. Once an incursion occurs, universes can topple like dominoes. The last such incursion ended the 7th incarnation of the 616. Now that we have covered forces and factions, let us look at materials. In dimensions higher than the 3 that comprise the multiverse, 10 metals are used to build the higher aspects of the 616. So far, mortals have discovered only 8, but is that entirely true? The Mandarin rings, uncovered in the Makluan starship, exhibit properties consistent with these metals. Adamantium is nigh unbreakable. Upon tonal commands, Yaka defies trajectory and thermodynamics. Vibranium absorbs and releases energy, according to vibrational frequencies. Mysterium amplifies connection to the Sage Force. Sentio Metallico is a living metal that comprises the Cybertronians and Gobatronians. Uru collects and channels magic. Nth metal manipulates the 4 fundamental forces of strong, weak, electromagnetic, and gravimetric forces. And X element is pure congealed imagination. Our tour now concludes with the Warlord arc, the so-called built-in countdown to creation's end. How much time have we left? I am the one above all, and join me again as I continue to tour Secret Crisis, the DC Marvel Multiverse.